Man, is there anything worse than a low voltage short? Those fuses can just go in a flash. Oh, sorry. You guys have seen all the memes. Now, I've intentionally popped this fuse. Hopefully I can help some of you guys out, give you an alternate method. I could just unwire every wire and do it trial and error, but sometimes you're limited how many errors you can make. So the biggest tip for you guys, get you one of the little 5 amp circuit breakers. Don't get one and leave it in the system, but get one and leave it in your tool bag. Sometimes if you're discarding an old unit, an old rooftop unit, sometimes they'll have the little rectangular ones that pop out and they have the little white bottom. Rob those, keep those. Perfect application. These things have male adapters here. Simply pull the old fuse out, take that male adapter and just put it right down in the fuse. Put the other one in there, and voila. That way when these pop, you can just reset it and try again. These are obviously easy to replace. You just take your good fuse, push it back down in there, and you're good as new. So right now we have the fuse plugged in the board. I want to show you guys one other thing here. On the other end of this is still hooked up to equipment. If you're trying to read continuity between common and each of these, you're going to show continuity because it's going to go back through the windings of the contactors and everything, transformer. Now we have 24 volts on red. So what we can do is quickly touch those together to each one here and see. I don't have the common hooked up, so there's nothing happening there. Green, and then we have white. So which one do we think is shorted out here in this scenario? Now our fuse is still good because that quick little contact is not long enough to burn that fuse. It takes just a second to burn that fuse. But that's your telltale sign if you have a problem. Now the big thing is the components failing and causing your short. If you're going to trial and error it and you pull the wire off the contactor, replace the fuse, and the fuse doesn't blow, but then when you go back and you touch the wire to that contactor and you see a spark, it's not supposed to spark. That would be your cue that there's way too many amps flowing through that wire. Let's see if we can capture just how many amps that is. So I'm using a jumper wire. I'm going through the meter. I've got it set to max to capture my max amp draw. So we'll just kind of, so we're making pretty good sparks and our fuse is still good. And we had 8.7 amps pulled at one point. So again, instead of going through fuse after fuse after fuse, there's a few tips to help alleviate that. A lot of times we will find a bad contactor coil. It has burnt or grounded out. I think the number one for most of us is going to be lawn care. The weed eater gets wrapped up in the outdoor thermostat wire. Sometimes it's just the coating is not very UV resistant and it gets brittle, breaks off, and then all these little wires are now bare copper and touching. Sometimes we'll have a low voltage wire to like the low pressure control laying on top of a copper pipe, and as that unit's running, it's creating vibration. You may not be able to see it vibrating, but that back and forth motion over a long period of time is going to be like sandpaper. It'll eventually cut through the insulation of the wire, and as soon as the copper wire touches the copper pipe, poof. Those can sometimes be a bear to find because you replace the fuse and everything takes off working. And until it vibrates back over to that point and touches right there again, it may not blow for a while. So if you found this helpful, let me know that you found it helpful. If you have any tips or tricks of your own, feel free to throw them out there for the rest of us. It's all about working smarter and not harder these days. Absolutely. If you enjoy these videos, help me out. Share it with your helper, your apprentice. Get them to knowledge. They're going to be the techs of the future. If you have anything in particular you'd like to see, let me know.